Hey everybody, and welcome to Rabbit's Ramblings, podcast 424. Hopefully everybody had a good Mom's Day, and this time I will ramble a little bit about No Rest for the Wicked's most recent big patch, and that's all I have for this time. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show. So I guess after about a year since their first early access launch, the biggest patch yet has come for No Rest for the Wicked, and I am back in and playing quite a bit and having a super fun time. The biggest story feature they added is that there are now 2 new areas that are pretty huge, actually. So the story they had is now continued. There are many new dialogues and a few new cutscenes, and some of the older cutscenes and dialogues were cleaned up a little bit. And where the story ends now is in a really crazy spot. There's a bunch of crazy stuff starting to happen, and the bad things are really starting to ramp up, and you can really tell with that last bit of the last zone and the last bit of where the story leaves off that they are really ramping up to sort of get very serious about where the story is headed. It is definitely not the end of the story. If it were, I would be completely shocked because there are at least 2 different areas, it looks like, that the story would continue its direction in, possibly 3. So I definitely don't think this is, the intended end of the story. Also, they have added a brand new weapon class, which are fist weapons, which you dual wield. So they are in sort of the same overall category as dual daggers in that they share the runes and abilities between them, I think. I haven't tried to put any dagger abilities on the fist weapons or vice versa, but I'm pretty sure they will work. They are pretty cool, but I don't think they're quite for me. They are very quick and very stamina focused, and they don't build up a lot of focus, so you're not casting as much. There is one for Faith I really, really like that does a big kind of explosion move, but it is the most expensive rune power. And if the bad guy moves out of the way, you can pretty easily miss with it, and then it's like, oh my god, that was just a big, huge, expensive attack, and I just completely missed. But I don't know, I am looking at them. They are pretty cool. Probably not for me, but something new and interesting. There are also now one-handed magic weapons they're calling wands, which are kind of weird because they're sort of designed as a melee weapon, but they have, a focus on casting, but you can't cast without focus, so you have to do some melee stuff to get the focus to cast, which seems very confusing. It's like, why would you not just use a melee weapon to build focus and then swap weapons to the wand weapon? I don't know. It is not a weapon for me. I am not into the caster weapons. I originally thought maybe I would do some kind of hybrid melee caster build, and it's just, I have not really enjoyed the caster things I've tried, so I will probably not be doing any caster stuff. But it does look pretty cool and interesting for those who want a different way to play magic builds. There also seem to be quite a few weapons in, the other categories that I don't remember seeing, so that is pretty cool as well. One of the other changes that came about is they changed how the weapons sort of rank up. Now they just scale from level 1 to, I think, 16 as the highest. I just got my first item to level 16, which is a weapon, and then it didn't show the upgrade option beyond that, so I'm guessing 16 is the highest things can go. And you'll probably only see to about level 12 or 13 maybe by the time you reach level 30 and hit the end game, because then you need special materials to upgrade it beyond that. And these special materials come from new events, which take place after you get to what is the current end of the campaign. Bad things start to happen all over the place, and so certain areas will just go corrupt, and there will be this pestilence, I think it's called, and there's a meter of how much pestilence is there, and you kill bad guys in the area, and then that will reduce the pestilence, and then when it gets to 0, the bad guy will spawn, or you can do a special resource that gets them to spawn while the bad guys are there. It gets a little tricky in ways. You get to the boss, and then when you beat the boss, you get special resources. Also, the minions can drop the special resource as well, so you're kind of harvesting this special new resource all the way through. I would recommend people be very, very, very careful, because in the area that is affected, you can go to a fire pit and then burn offerings, and that's a way to sort of trash items you're not interested in keeping, and that will increase the difficulty in the area. But why I say people should be very, very, very careful is that the more items you put in there, the higher the bad guys will get, and the more negative modifiers will build up on them. And so I made the mistake of not being very careful, and I did the first 3, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty easy. I have like no problem with the minions, and the bosses aren't too bad. I'll just go ahead and crank it up from level 1 to level 2 and see what happens. And well, I was a big smarty pants doing that, and that level 2 area has completely wrecked me ever since. The boss at the end of the level 2 area is so tough. It takes most everything I have to get them to their phase 2, and then once I get to their phase 2, I can maybe get them 25% of the way down, but pretty much they'll just 1 or 2 shot me in that phase, so it is going to be very tricky, and I'm probably going to have to max like all my gear to get through that area. But the reason why this is very, very dangerous is that that whole area now is locked down with all of these super negative modifiers until I clear that boss, and then, the area cools down and resets. And some of those negative modifiers are really insane. Like one of them that is probably the most crippling to me is that when you cast a rune ability, 100% of your rune power is drained. So it doesn't matter if you have a rune ability that costs 50 or you have one that costs 150, whatever you've saved up beyond that cost is gone. So even though I probably wouldn't ever use it during a boss fight, there is a channeled heal ability where you can recover some of your health, but that is just not functional because it does the first pulse and then boom, all of your focus is gone, so it doesn't pulse ever again and you get no health from it pretty much. So it's pretty much like my normal style of attack, dodge, maybe dodge again, get back in, attack, and do that and build up enough to do 2 or 3 different powers. I have to get enough to do the one that is the most helpful right in that moment, cast it, and then I'm back at 0. And then there's other crazy modifiers, like the enemies take like way less damage if they're at full health. And if I'm at low health, I take way more stamina to do everything. So it's all kinds of crazy, and this whole area is now stuck until I can get past it. So be very, very careful. Like I said, you can burn offerings, and that will increase the difficulty in the area. You'll get more rewards, but you got to be really, really, really careful with those modifiers. Another thing you can do with these special materials that come out of those areas is exalt an item, and you do that by exalting each of their modifiers one at a time. So say you have an item and it has plus 9% healing effect. If you exalt that, it will go to the maximum for that, which is, I think, pretty much all the time 15%. And then if you exalt all of the spots on an item, you'll get, really good bonuses. But then the whole item itself will upgrade just a little bit. It's not a ton, but it will bump up the item beyond the level it's currently at. So like I mentioned, my item that is maximum level 16, it is not fully exalted yet, but when I do, its weapon attack power will go up just a little tiny bit. I think it's like 160 damage, and it says it will go up to 168. So I don't know the percentage of that. That sounds pretty small, but it's not insignificant. It's, a decent jump, and that's, the only way to upgrade it beyond what it is now. So exalting can get pretty cool, because then you can be guaranteed to have the biggest rolls for those modifiers that you have. Also, items can now drop just exalted in specific items. Like I have seen many, many items drop leveling up that were already exalted in a stat. And you'll know it's exalted in that stat because it will be yellow, and it will be a much higher number than you're used to seeing for that. And it's like, whoa, that's a big number. I like that. So don't change that one, because now you can also use what everybody calls popcorns. I don't know their official names. It's Ember something. But you can use them to re-roll a particular line of enchantment. So if you're somebody who doesn't want that plus healing, you can have it re-roll, and it will be, potentially something else that item can have. Just remember that if it has an elemental effect or some other kind of damage boost, you can only have one of those at a time. So don't be like, oh, this one has plus fire damage. I'm going to re-roll this other thing so it can have plus fire damage and plus cold damage, because it's not going to do it. I did get a bow, my first ever unique item, and it does have cold damage and heat damage, and you can do that flipping it. It does one attack is a heat attack and one attack is a cold attack, and its bonuses are something like plus 10% heat damage if you've done cold damage in the last 10 seconds, and vice versa for cold. And I use both, so not a big deal to me, but it breaks the rules. So be careful with re-rolling your stuff. That can get very expensive very quickly. The first time I did it, I think I had 50 of those Ember things, and then I'm like, okay, re-roll. And then I was down at like 20, and I'm like, okay, I gotta stop, because this is not gonna get any better. Mostly I was trying to get rid of a bad purple negative stat, but I don't know, everything in the breach just seems really, really horrible on those purples. With the plague stat, they all just seem really, really horrible. And it's like you have to try for the combination of positive one that's indestructible and then the negative one that says can't be repaired. And that's, the ultimate purple, because then, it gets indestructible. But the negative is they can't be repaired, but that doesn't matter because it's indestructible. But like every other negative effect I've seen is like, no, this is not worth it. This is horrible. This is going to kill me. And it literally has many, many times. So at this point, I'm not using any purple items. I don't know if I will or not. But overall, it is a super, super good update. I don't know how much I've played, because I remember last time you could sort of mouse over your character in the main menu and it would show how many play hours you had. At this point, I have no idea, because it doesn't show anymore. And since I play offline, Steam doesn't keep track of it, so I have no clue how much I've played. But since I'm in the end game, I may stop pretty soon, because there are rumors that they're going to try and do these kind of big updates every 2 to 3 months now. It took them a year the first time, because during most of that time, they had a parent company, and the parent company was being sold, and so there was a lot of, sort of inner turmoil of, will we still be having jobs and able to make the game we want, or is the company going to sell us to somebody new who tells us to change everything? But the good news is that's all settled now. They are independent. They can make the game how they want. They won't have any more delays, and so they're expecting the big patches to come out much, much faster now. And one of the patches coming, they're talking about a combat rework, where they're going to add even more new weapons. And so, it's like I like strength, and I like this specific weapon, and this specific weapon. Will those be the same in the next big patch? I don't know. Also, they're talking about adding factions, because apparently, I guess, people have difficulty knowing how to build with no factions or classes, so they're adding that. And along with that, they're saying they might just completely get rid of attributes and make it sort of a passive skill-based system where you do different things for the faction people, and the faction people give you certain abilities, and then you pick which abilities you want. That could be really interesting to see, but it would completely invalidate all of my knowledge about, oh, I like 30 health, and I like 15 stamina, and I like 30 equip loads, so I can stay in fast with mesh gear and a cloth hat, and all of that would potentially go right out the window. So there is no sense in me obsessing over a specific exact build if the basis for the build completely changes. So anyways, a big long way to say I really love the changes. It is very cool. I do not like purple items now with their current negatives, but that's on you. You can use them if you're okay with them or not. Certain builds I could very easily see being like, oh, I hardly ever use focus. I don't care about focus loss when I get damaged, so that's acceptable to me. I use focus and I use stamina and I use pretty much everything, so pretty much all the negatives are like, no, this is terrible. But again, I'm just rambling at this point. I really like it, and I'm having a super good time with it, and I still highly recommend it. But if you want to wait until things settle, there's still no release date, but big patches should be coming soon, so we should fairly regularly be hearing news about what's coming if you are not currently playing. And of course, I will update people on the big patches that happen. But that's all I have for this time. And that's all I have for this time. Hopefully everybody had a good Mom's Day. I guess Doom The Dark Ages is coming out pretty soon. Pretty much all the reviewers say it's really short though, at like 15 hours, maybe 20 hours. So what I'll probably do is do another month of Game Pass. I think it's out maybe now as I'm recording, but I'm probably going to wait about a week. Maybe the start of next month, I'll do a Game Pass month. And then I'll plow through that because there's no way I'm going to pay even sale price for a game that's 15 hours I expect to play once ever. I'll just do it on Game Pass. Thank you for $12. And then after that, I'll play Expedition 33 probably. And then after that, I'll probably finish Avowed because I think I was about 2/3 the way through that, I think. Maybe half the way. And that was pretty fun, but I don't know if I need to pay for it full price. I'm fine finishing that on Game Pass. And I don't know what else is coming soon. There's certainly nothing I have on my immediate radar. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned Cat Quest 3. I got that on sale. I guess it's kind of old. I guess it came out like a year ago for Switch, and now it's recently-ish come out on PC. Super cute, super fun, super casual. Definitely will buy a Cat Quest 4 if and when that comes out. It is super cute. You're a little cat pirate floating around doing different goals. It's very old school console style. Very casual, fun. Definitely recommend it. It is super, super, super short. Like 10 hours I think it took me to finish it. But I got it on sale for like $8 or $10. So absolutely worth it. I think full price it's only about $15. Absolutely worth it. Super fun. And the only other news I really have is my eye poking doctor stuff is not great. It's not getting better as quickly as the doctor hoped, so he's trying a different kind of eye poking medicine, which means I've got at least another 2 more pokes in the eye to go through, which is terrible. I would really rather not be doing it anymore at all, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Hopefully he'll be like, oh yeah, you're as better as you're going to be. We're done after, 1 or 2 more. But I don't know. I can't control that. We'll have to see what he says. It's not getting worse, so that's good. But It's also not really improving a whole lot, just a little tiny bit. And again, at this point, I'd rather be just like done with it and be like, okay, I'm fine with occasional blurriness for no reason. And, I'll just deal with it if that is how I am now. But I don't know. I will keep people updated on that in the next few months because the appointments happen 1 month apart. But that's really all I have for this time. I don't know what I'll talk about next time, but hopefully I'll see everybody then. Okay, thanks, bye. You have been listening to Rabbit's Ramblings. If you would like to see the show notes or feed the bunny by sending a donation, you can find the show website at www.rabbit.com/podcast/rabbitsramblings.html. When you type Rabbit's Ramblings, don't use a space. If you would like to send me an email, you can do so at rabbit@rabbit.com. If you like my page, you can also post on Facebook at rabb1t's. You can follow me on YouTube at rabb1t's. I have a page on Patreon at www.patreon.com/rabbit, RABB1T. You can set up a monthly recurring subscription there at a price point of your choice. Be sure to put the number 1 in place of I anytime you type rabbit. Rabbit's Ramblings is copyright Eric Stryker, using a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Derivatives License 2025.